Jai Hind everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel which is Explore Yourselves, Banking and General Knowledge, etc. Jai Hind. Historical events of 4th June. A journey through time of 4th June 2025, Wednesday. Today's, that is 4th June, highlights in history. 1615. Siege of Osaka. Forces under Tokugawa Ieyasu take Osaka Castle in Japan. 1745. Battle of Hohenfriedberg. Frederick the Great's Prussian army decisively defeated an Austrian army under Prince Charles Alexander of Lorraine during the War of the Austrian Succession. 1760. Great Upheaval. New England planters arrived to claim land in Nova Scotia, Canada, taken from the Acadians. 1783. The Montgolfier brothers publicly demonstrate their Montgolfier hot air balloon. 1784. Elizabeth Tibble becomes the first woman to fly in an untethered hot air balloon. Her flight covers 4 kilometers in 45 minutes and reached 1500 meters altitude, which is an estimated. 1792. Captain George Vancouver claims Puget Sound for the Kingdom of Great Britain. 1808. King Charles Emmanuel IV of Sardinia abdicates his throne in favor of his brother, Victor Emmanuel. 1812. Following Louisiana's admittance as a U.S. state, the Louisiana Territory is renamed the Missouri Territory. 1825. General Lafayette, a French officer in the American Revolutionary War, speaks at what would become Lafayette Square in Buffalo, New York during his visit to the United States. 1855. Major Henry C. Wayne departs New York aboard the USS Supply to procure camels to establish the US Camel Corps. 1859. Italian Independence Wars. In the Battle of Magenta, the French army under Louis Napoleon defeat the Austrian army. 1862. American Civil War. Confederate troops evacuate Fort Pillow on the Mississippi River, leaving the way clear for Union troops to take Memphis, Tennessee. 1876. An express train called the Transcontinental Express arrives in San Francisco via the first transcontinental railroad only 83 hours and 39 minutes after leaving New York City. 1878. Cyprus Convention. The Ottoman Empire cedes Cyprus to the United Kingdom but retains nominal title. 1896. Henry Ford completes the Ford quadricycle, his first gasoline-powered automobile, and gives it a successful test run. 1912. Massachusetts becomes the first state of United States to set a minimum wage. 1913. Emily Davison, a suffragette, runs out in front of King George V's horse at the Derby. She is trampled, never regains consciousness, and dies 4 days later. 1916. World War I. Russia opens the Brusilov offensive with an artillery barrage of Austro-Hungarian lines in Galicia. 1917. The first Pulitzer Prizes are awarded. Laura E. Richards, Maud H. Elliott, and Florence Hall receives the first Pulitzer for biography for Julia Ward Howe. Jean-Jules Jusserand receives the first Pulitzer for history for his work with Americans of past and present days. Herbert B. Schwab receives the first Pulitzer for journalism for his work for the New York World. 1919 Women's Rights. The US Congress approves the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which guarantees suffrage to women, and sends it to the US states for ratification. 1919 Leon Trotsky bans the planned Fourth Regional Congress of Peasants, Workers and Insurgents. 1920 Hungary loses 71% of its territory and 63% of its population when the Treaty of Trianon is signed in Paris. 1928 The President of the Republic of China, Zhang Zuolin, is assassinated by Japanese agents. 1932 Marmaduke Grove and other Chilean military officers lead a coup d'état establishing the short-lived Socialist Republic of Chile. 1939 The Holocaust. The MS St. Louis, a ship carrying 963 German Jewish refugees, is denied permission to land in Florida, in the United States, after already being turned away from Cuba. Forced to return to Europe, more than 200 of its passengers later die in Nazi concentration camps. 1940 World War II. The Dunkirk evacuation ends. The British Armed Forces completes evacuation of 338,000 troops from Dunkirk in France. To rally the morale of the country, Winston Churchill delivers only to the House of Commons his famous "We shall fight on the beaches" speech. 1942 World War II. The Battle of Midway begins. Japanese Admiral Chuichi Nagumo orders a strike on Midway Island by much of the Imperial Japanese Navy. 1942 World War II. Gustavo Menhiram, the commander-in-chief of the Finnish army, is granted the title of Marshal of Finland by the government on his 75th birthday. On the same day, Adolf Hitler arrives in Finland for a surprise visit to meet Mannerheim. 1943 A military coup in Argentina ousts Roman Casello. 1944 World War II. A hunter-killer group of the United States Navy captures the German Kriegsmarine submarine U-505, the first time a US Navy vessel had captured an enemy vessel at sea since the 19th century. 1944 World War II. The United States Fifth Army captures Rome, although much of the German 14th Army is able to withdraw to the north. 1961 Cold War. In the Vienna summit, the Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev sparks the Berlin crisis by threatening to sign a separate peace treaty with East Germany and ending American, British, and French access to East Berlin. 1967 72 people are killed when a Canadair C-4 Argonaut crashes at Stockport in England. 1970 Tonga gains independence from the British Empire. 1975 The Governor of California, Jerry Brown, signs the California Agriculture-Labor Relations Act into law, the first law in the United States giving farm workers collective bargaining rights. 1977 JVC introduces its VHS videotape and the Consumer Electronics Show in Chicago. It will eventually prevail against Sony's rival Betamax system in a format war to become the predominant home video medium. 1979 Flight Lieutenant Jerry Rawlings takes power in Ghana after a military coup in which General Fred Okowo is overthrown. 1983 Gordon Cahill, who killed two US Marshals in Medina, North Dakota on February 13th, is killed in a shootout in Smithville, Arkansas, along with the local sheriff after a 4-month manhunt. 1986 Jonathan Pollard, pleads guilty to espionage for selling top secret United States military intelligence to Israel. 1988, three cars on a train carrying hexogen to Kazakhstan explode in Arzamas, Gorky Oblast, USSR, killing 91 and injuring about 1,500. 1989. In the 1989 Iranian Supreme Leader election, Ali Khamenei is elected as the new Supreme Leader of Iran after the death and funeral of Ruhollah Khomeini. 1989. The Tiananmen Square protests and massacre are suppressed in Beijing by the People's Liberation Army, with between 241 and 10,000 dead, an unofficial estimate. 1989. Solidary's victory in the 1989 Polish legislative election occurs, the first election since the Communist Polish United Workers' Party abandoned its monopoly of power. It sparks off the revolutions of 1989 in Eastern Europe. 1989. Ufa train disaster. A natural gas explosion near Ufa, Russia, kills 575 as two trains passing each other through sparks near a leaky pipeline. 1996. The first flight of Ariane 5 explodes after roughly 37 seconds. It was a cluster mission. 1998. Terry Nicholas is sentenced to life in prison for his role in the Oklahoma City bombing. 2005. The Civic Forum of the Romanians of Covasna, Harghita, and Mureș is founded. 2010. Falcon 9 Flight 1 is the maiden flight of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, which launches from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station Space Launch Complex 40. 2023. Protests begin in Poland against the Duda government. 2023. Four people are killed when a Cessna Citation 5 crashes into Mine Bank Mountain in Augusta County, Virginia. Thank you very much for your patience. Please do like, share and subscribe the channel.